This is the new Land Rover Range Rover, or the old money Range Rover. This one has the internal code L460, and this particular test unit is powered by a BMW-derived V8. Also, it's got a long wheelbase and a bench. And I'm going to review it. Well, the car. And the bench as well. The new Range Rover is always an occasion, as Land Rover doesn't spit out new generations as often as other car makers. This is only the 5th generation since 1969, and the first generation was made for 24 years. The second generation was produced only for 8 years, and now 9-10 years seems to be the new norm. But since the new generations are so rare, previous models age well. They seem to fit everywhere despite being heavy, large and thirsty symbols of climate change. Land Rover wants to change this image by introducing some PHEVs with a real-world range of up to 88 kilometers, because test results show even 113 kilometers. Hybrid Range Rovers have net battery capacity in excess of 30 kilowatt-hours, which puts them on a par with early pure EVs like the facelifted first-gen Nissan Leaf or the mid-range BMW i3. And in 2024, there is going to be a pure electric Range Rover as well. But today we're not talking about hybrids or EVs. This is the 4.4-liter V8 version. This engine is better known as the N63, and it powers, among others, more powerful variants of the BMW 5, 7 and 8 series, as well as the X5, X6 and X7, and the Alpine B8, and the Range Rover Sport as well. The new one, of course. Before we go any deeper, briefly about the design, which is elegant and simple, like in the previous generations. Function, in this case aerodynamics, goes in pair with form. The L460 Range Rover with plug-in hybrid powertrain has the drag coefficient of just 0.30, which is less than the Porsche 997 Turbo. And yes, it's the best result among large SUVs. It's down to small details like lowering the roofline by 10 mm, retractable door handles, or the boat tail. This simple, clean rear masks the lamps and the indicators, and I love it because increasingly often light graphics make the car. I'd love my Mini to shine those Union Jacks all the time. Hands-free opening and closing of the tailgate is standard, and I did manage to activate it a couple of times, like wow, now. The secret lies in precise foot swing under the corner of a car. A stock footage lady does it with ease, but I seem to lack her poise. As this is the big range, the tailgate splits, allowing you to admire the countryside as you change from your muddy wellies to your clean wellies that you proudly wear around town. And this is called the Tailgate Event Suite, and you can order some cushions for your cushions and stuff. And there's even a place for a couple of drinks, but watch out, as this tailgate has a 150 kilogram weight limit, so since I'm here, my companion better be petite. A quick housekeeping note, I'm here to make car reviews for you and not to chase the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you liking, subscribing and putting on notifications, but that doesn't always do the trick. This is why I have a newsletter which I encourage you to subscribe to. That way you'll get notifications about new videos straight into your inbox. No spam, just notifications about new videos. Link in the description below, and now let's get on with the review. The boot volume in the long wheelbase 5-seater is 725 liters under the parcel shelf, 1050 to the roof, and 2727 with the seats folded. The parcel shelf should fold automatically or can be folded with a press of a button unless it gets stuck and needs help. Later I climbed into the boot and pushed the left corner further in. It worked for a bit. The 7-seater has 713 liters boot space with the third row folded and 229 liters with all 7 seats up. I measured the boot in this test example and it seems to have less than 500 liters between the floor and the parcel shelf. You can reclaim some of the space if you do not specify the optional full-size spare. I looked at some other reviews of the new Range Rover and it seems cargo space on this one is compromised by the Executive Class Comfort Plus seats in the back. They have advanced adjustment and require an additional divider, which is also at an awkward angle, and you can't push taller items all the way back. And if you are wondering how to extract the 30 or so kilogram spare from the deep boot, here's how. Range Rover gives you a strap that acts as a pulley. You attach it to the boot opening and to the rim. Don't forget to undo the nut securing the wheel. However, even with the pulley, the wheel is heavy. But if you go off the beaten path once in a while, it's better to have a spare. However, if you're using your Range Rover as it was intended, meaning you drive around town and go to the shops, you'll appreciate this clever shopping arrangement system, especially if you bought an expensive bottle of wine for dinner. In its normal setting, the Range Rover has 22 cm ground clearance, but thanks to pneumatic suspension, you can drop it by 5 cm for easier access. I'm 175 cm tall and I struggle to get in when the suspension is in its normal setting. Easy access mode can be activated on demand from the cockpit or automatically every time you turn off the ignition. The standard wheelbase in the new Range Rover is 300 cm and the long wheelbase is 320 cm. The car length is 505 and 525 cm respectively. As this is the long wheelbase model, I have a lot of legroom. I can adjust the seats from sitting to half lying down, and I can have this middle seat transform into an electrically operated armrest, which features a tablet to set the seats and climate control. And there's even a hidden cup holder, which, to be honest, it's a bit of an overkill. If you want executive comfort, get the 2 separate seats with a permanent divider and a fold-out table. Here, the armrest obstructs the air vents, so despite additional air vents overhead, on a hot summer day, it gets hot inside here. Now, of course, the seats can be heated and ventilated, and on the optional screens, you can display things. I have Chromecast, HDMI connected, etc. So I can watch YouTube. There are also noise-cancelling headphones, so the driver doesn't have to listen to your favorite YouTuber nagging about a Land Rover Defender. And now we move to the front, where not much is happening in a good sense. Land Rover decided to go with a minimalist theme. The key switchgear is knob-based, like temperature, volume, and the drive mode here. Everything else is touch-based, which means they don't have to reinvent the dash layout. It's enough to light an icon or not, like this EV button here between the low range and the hill descent assist. The EV is probably for the PHEV version. The 13.7-inch driver display has 3 themes and you can adjust what data you want to see. The central 13.1-inch display is for the car settings and multimedia. Of course, there is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but watch out as the infotainment system can crash. I had 2 such incidents over just 4 days I spent with the car. And there's absolutely everything else on this screen, including the air vent open and close setting. I have no idea who came up with this, because the current setting is not displayed anywhere else. For 2 days I drove with the temperature set to 18 degrees and I was wondering why it's so hot inside. I found settings for the rear air vents earlier and it was still quite warm in the back. The door pockets are on the small side, especially for a big car like this. Instead of 2 smallish glove boxes, I'd rather have 1 larger glove box. You can specify a fridge under the armrest, and you can also order one for the rear, but only in the top trim. There's a place for your phone and the cup holders are decent, just be careful because upon hard acceleration, the drinks can push the sliding cover and it'll start closing. I like the wooden finish instead of acres of piano black like you get on most cars these days. However, Range Rover also has some piano black here on the steering wheel, and this screen is always filthy, which drives me nuts. Also, if I had to nitpick, the door handles are tad too low and I have to lean to reach them. But maybe it's because safety and all, and like you have to use your other hand. Health and safety. Now you're gonna look. Cyclists. And you can't hit the cyclist because there's a sensor and won't allow you to open the doors.
Oh, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Act like you know. Act like you know. Here we go, here we go. No, yo, we got Trog on a beat. Mixed with nitro, flow is so discreet. This the type of shit that make you move your feet. Or cuss people out and take it back to the street.
The Range Rover always features go-anywhere capabilities. However, as this test car is on 23-inch rims and the paint alone costs €9,000, I'll just do my usual diagonal approach test. The car is long enough not to notice it. Also, ground clearance in off-road mode goes up from 22 to 29.5 centimeters, and in OMFG I'm stuck mode, it goes up additional 6 centimeters, so a total of 13.5 centimeters above the standard 22 centimeters. On more challenging roads and narrow streets, I suggest using the 360 camera and this virtual under-the-bonnet camera. Much more useful than the virtual rearview mirror in my opinion. Speaking of tight streets, the Range Rover L460 is over 2 meters wide, but don't be afraid of tight maneuvers. As standard, the big Range Rover gets active rear steering, the rear axle turns up to 7.3 degrees at low speeds, which tightens the turning circle. The short wheelbase model has a turning circle of just 11 meters between the curbs, and the long wheelbase turns in just 11.5 meters. That's better than the BMW 5 Series. Parking should be easier thanks to automatic parking feature, just be careful because it's very aggressive. On my first attempt I stopped the car because I couldn't believe how close it was getting to an obstacle. Parking is completely hands and foot free, the car accelerates, brakes and steers on its own. On the screen you can see where the car is planning to stop. Unfortunately, in tighter parking lots the system shuts down halfway through the parking maneuver and you have to complete it yourself. Also, I found the system doesn't account for space on the driver's side to open the door, so I had to correct the parking position. The car will also exit the parking spot on its own as of 2022, so after this car was manufactured you can also order remote parking, and the same goes for some kind of door assist, and no, that's not the same as soft close. And yes, it's great the door handles retract, but they are very loud. I remember the same was the case in the Porsche Taycan. I was close to having a heart attack every time they retracted because I thought I hit something. Everything looks fine. And then... it's this sound as if you hit something. And your throat is dry and your pants are wet, and it turned out these were the door handles. There's another reason for comparing the Range Rover to the Porsche Taycan. Despite the V8 under the bonnet, the interior is very well soundproofed. The windows are so thick, my speed tracker GPS couldn't find the signal, so I had to use an external antenna, which attaches on a magnet, and this car is all aluminum and composite, so I had to duct tape it to the roof. But thick glass is not the only thing that makes this car quiet. The Range Rover gets noise-cancelling technology, like on the earphones, headphones. The system uses 35 speakers, including 2 in each of the 4 main seat headrests. Up to 120 km/h, you can barely hear anything inside. Above that speed, the wind noise is starting to cut in, but this is a big car. The new Range Rover chassis is 80% aluminum, and as a result, the car weighs only 2,600 kilograms. The BMW X7 with the same engine weighs around 2.5 tons, but it is 10 centimeters shorter. With a 530 horsepower twin-turbo V8, the Range Rover should accelerate from 0 to 100 km/h in 4.6 seconds with launch control. I got just above 5.1 seconds with launch control and 5.7 in full auto mode. The results were repeatable and consistent. Manufacturer claims the fuel consumption should be around 11.5 liters per 100 kilometers combined. I was averaging 13-14 liters. The 90-liter tank runs dry quickly. Also, hybrids and diesels have smaller tanks. Beside the 530 horsepower V8, the Range Rover comes with an array of 3-liter straight-six diesels and petrols, most of them mild or plug-in hybrid. The plug-ins can tow up to 2.5 tons, everything else can haul 3.5 tons. At speeds above 105 km/h, pneumatic adaptive suspension drops 16 mm for better aerodynamics. The adaptive suspension is also supposed to stabilize the car in the corners, which it does very quickly, blah blah blah. Also thanks to using sat-nav maps. However, this is not a Range Rover Sport SVR, not a Porsche Cayenne, and not a BMW X6M. In fast, tight corners, the car understeers, oversteers, and the tires squeal, but that's not what the big Range Rover is for. The big Range Rover is for comfortable cruising, and the only car I can think of that is more comfortable is the Rolls-Royce. That's it, I said it, and that's a bar set very high. In my opinion, the Range Rover is more comfortable than the Mercedes-Benz GLS. By the way, my physiotherapist was keen to see the car, so I met up with him, and I can report that he found the seats and the massage function up to his professional standards. It's been ages since I drove something so effortless. Everything is easy, everything is plentiful. I know I can, but I don't have to. It's brilliant. The driver aids are very good. They stay off until turned on. And adaptive cruise control and active lane keeping assist work very well. They are not overbearing. In a car that can barely fit in a lane, that's a big compliment. The suspension goes over bumps like what bumps, right? Visibility is okay for this size of a car, but a herd of elephants can still disappear behind the A-pillar, and no matter how I set the mirrors, there's always a blind spot just behind my left shoulder where a regular hatchback would normally end. Prices of the Range Rover L460 start at €125,900 for the D250 SE. You have to jump to D350 HSE to get the cheapest long wheelbase at €148,800, €3,000 more for a 7-seater. This is a first edition petrol V8 long wheelbase 5-seater, which starts at €183,400. With options, it costs €198,984. Do I like the Range Rover? Yes. Will I ever be able to afford it? Not if you don't like and share this video with a lot of people. Would I like to own one? Yes. And how do you like the new Range Rover? Are you looking for a luxury SUV? What other models are on your radar? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.